A new report has come out which ranks the city of Toronto the worst city in North America when it comes to commuter traffic. And I find that very easy to believe. And anybody who lives either in Toronto proper or the greater Toronto area where I am right now, you'll find that very easy to believe. Worse than New York, worse than Los Angeles, worse than Chicago, worse than Mexico City, the worst city in North America when it comes to commuter traffic, whether it be the freeways, whether it be the trains, whether it be buses, whatever, what have you, the worst is the city of Toronto. That is outrageous. And not only that, Toronto ranks as the sixth worst city on the planet when it comes to commuter traffic. Only Bogota, Colombia has, Bogota, Colombia has the worst, apparently. And Toronto has the sixth worst on the planet. Now, that's up there with Chinese cities and those Asian cities which have you seen television. I mean, their traffic is outrageous. And Toronto ranks up there with them. Folks, this is a crisis. And I'm going to tell you, I can see why this is happening. The fact of the matter is that our politicians are looking at this the extremely wrong. Now, for those of you who probably don't know Toronto politics or who don't live in the area, the thing that you have to understand is that there has been for years now a systematic effort to squash out car driving in the GTA. There is, as Rob Ford used to say, the late great Rob Ford, and my man Doug Ford still says, there is a war on the vehicle. There are politicians, many green politicians and all these people, left-wing who hate driving. If they could stamp it out, if they could wave a magic wand and stamp out driving, they would do it in a heartbeat. The thing that you have to understand is this. You could put in as many trains as you want. You could put in as many buses as you want. You could put in bullet trains that go up and down and underground and through water and fly and all sorts of. You could do all of that. There are just some people out there, no matter what you do with public transit, who will never, ever give up their car. And I say, God bless those people, because there are many people, me included, and I'm saying this, and I say this, I will be one of those people, because there is something independent about having your own vehicle. It is status, it gives you a certain status. It gives you a certain regality to have your own vehicle. And that's the thing. The way you can stop this madness is if we look for ways to invest in more highways or invest in more roads, invest more in vehicles. Stop this war on vehicles. We have to do it now. Now, we have spent billions and billions of dollars, and we probably even haven't done that adequately enough, on public transportation. Lord knows we have done a lot for public transportation, and we're going to continue doing more. But the problem is that we have to spend more on vehicular transportation. That's I actually think, because we pay so much in Ontario alone for car insurance, and we pay so much in taxes for the stickers on our license plates and all that stuff. We should not be having any road in this province with a toll. So I say we should get rid of all the tolls on these highways, the 412. We should put the 407 back in public hands and make it public again. I know some of the rich and upper middle class pieces of crap, I shouldn't say that. The rich and upper middle class people in the Durham region and the Peel region and in North Toronto will scowl at that idea. But the fact of the matter is, the 401, which is a major highway in the GTA, is a highway for the poor man, and the 407 is a highway for the rich man. We cannot have that in a city like this, which has now been ranked one of the worst cities for commuter traffic. We cannot do it. We should put the 407 back in public hands and make it 100% free to drive on. That's number one. Number two, I mentioned earlier that we spend a lot of money on public transit, and we do. We most certainly do. But the fact of the matter is we are not doing that, even that, we can't do in a proper way. And the reason I say that is because many of the politicians in the GTA are not only at war with vehicles and cars and car transportation, they are also at war with subways. For some reason, these politicians, many of them who reside in the Toronto City Hall, they loathe subways. They prefer something called LRTs and another something called streetcars. Now let me tell you something about streetcars. While every major city on the planet, most of them, Washington, D.C., New York City, while many big major cities in North America especially have scrapped streetcars, Toronto seems to be the only city which is so hell-bent on making more streetcars. And the reason why many major cities have scrapped the idea of streetcars is because simply they block roads. They take up lanes of roads. Same with LRTs, which make the streets of Toronto even more crowded. And I would say, from a personal standpoint, the city of Toronto looks like an Eastern European ghetto with all of these streetcar lines and tracks all over the road. You got these lines. I think that is that is an eyesore for the city of Toronto. When I go downtown and I see these lines and these wires above the roads all over the place, and you see these old, rotten, red-looking streetcars driving around downtown, I say to myself, am I in a beautiful Western city, or am I in an Eastern European city like hellhole? I mean, I know I'm sounding harsh, but that's what it looks like. It looks like some kind of Eastern or some kind of Bohemian European city. It looks ugly. There are two things about Toronto that are an eyesore. The amount of condos that they put up near the waterfront and those old streetcars that they keep putting up. The LRTs are not as bad as the streetcars, but still, my friends, they clog up the roads and it makes the traffic even worse. Not to mention, of course, you have to fight with the bikers as well. So these are things that our politicians need to focus on. If I was in charge, one of the first things I would do is to rebuy back the 407 in a hostile takeover. Well, I would negotiate first, and if whoever owns the 407, as far as I heard, last I checked, it was a Quebec company. It used to be Italians running our highway. I would find out who owns the 407, and I would make sure that it gets back into public hands. I am a big libertarian. Well, not a big libertarian. I shouldn't lie like that. I believe in privatization and privatizing, but the one thing I disagree with on privatization is our roads. I don't think roads should be put in private hands because it causes tolls, and tolls cause traffic, and traffic equals the economy going to a standstill. So we should put it back in public hands. We should invest more in vehicular transportation, and not by adding more lanes to the Highway 401. You can add 100 lanes to the 401. You need to find a way. There was actually a proposal, which I don't know what happened to it, which wanted to make a tunnel road through downtown Toronto to connect to one of the highways. I want to know where that went. We need to invest more in vehicular transportation and stop this war on the car. And secondly, we need to get rid of these streetcars. We need to invest in buses because many of these people who say they want streetcars and LRTs, they say that it brings you closer to your destination. Well, put more buses on the road and stop having these tracks and these projects which just gouge more and more space on the road. We need to do those three things, and we need to make more subways. Toronto is the fourth largest city in North America. More and more people are choosing to move to the city of Toronto from all over the world on a daily basis. The population of Canada just grew by 1 million a few months ago, and most of those people are moving into the GTA. We cannot have a subway system which looks like it came out of Toronto from the 1980s and early 1990s when Toronto was still the second largest city in Canada. We have to get into the 21st century. We need to build more subways in the north and more subways in the east. We have to do it. We have to do it. And these politicians need to make up their mind and do this so that we can solve this problem. That is my take on this very depressing and melancholy statistic and report that has come out saying that Toronto has the worst traffic in North America and the sixth worst traffic on the planet. This is the Arana Nation.